War is always upon us. It's always around the corner. However, this war isn't external. It is coming from within. I will show you why the US empire is falling and no bombs need to be dropped here. A glut of antidepressants. 1 in 10 Americans now takes an antidepressant medication. Among women in their 40s and 50s, the figure is 1 in 4. I'm going to go through just a few of these type of statistics. I'll just give you those. You can research it and look into it deeper if you choose to do so. So stay with me on this. The United States, with less than 5% of the world's population, buys more than 50% of its prescription drugs. And what I want to get to you with this is basically showing how can a government, a people, the citizens succeed when 50% of the people require prescription drugs to continue on to thrive. This is out of the JAMA, the Journal of American Medical Association, talking about that they found that with previous generations of heroin users, the recent generation is more likely to be older, to be white, to live in non-urban areas, and most importantly, to have previously abused prescription painkillers. This is a huge scourge, a huge real weight on the back of the Americans. Let's look at this right here. Americans' twin drug epidemics, one illegal, the other illegal. Well over 70 million Americans are using mind-altering drugs. And that number doesn't include abusers of alcohol, which adds an additional 60 million Americans. So really, we're looking at 130 million strung out Americans. How exactly can the people succeed? Can we get out of this rut that we're in with a real recession going on when you have nearly half the population on some sort of drug? This is not looking pretty for the future. Nearly 7 in 10 Americans take prescription drugs. That's according to the Mayo Clinic here. Nearly 70% of Americans are on at least one prescription drug, and more than half take 2. And if you go in further, it says antibiotics, antidepressants, and pain-killing opioids are the most commonly prescribed. 20% of patients are on 5 or more prescription medications. This is a very sick population, unfortunately, and they require big pharma to go on with their lives. In my book, I read my free ebook, I should say, I wrote about this, the revolving door of big pharma. Individuals in the pharmaceutical industry, also known as big pharma, and the government are interchangeably moved like pawns in chess. This is the revolving door. Take a look at this first stat I said. The former head of the CDC became the president of the Merck vaccine division. And then it goes on to talk about the director of the FDA antibiotic division received $287,000 for nothing. And then, I go on and on. You could read it for yourself if you'd like to do so. It's always the links in the description below. Take a look for them for yourselves, whatever you're interested in. I have free ebooks for you to take a look at and share. Let's go on quickly. New York is a hub in a surging heroin trade. The flood of heroin coming into and going out of New York City has surged to the highest levels in more than 2 decades. And what I want to talk about with this is basically the disparity that is growing. You see homes in Manhattan going for record prices, millions upon millions of dollars going right now. The homes there are at all-time highs. You have very, very lows in things like this with a surging heroin trade taking place. A great divide is occurring, a chasm in between the rich and the poor. And if I go into this here, 22 military veterans commit suicide every single day, a growing epidemic, and they are often being prescribed these big pharma drugs to get over their PTSD. And that connects in with this leading cause of unintentional and intentional injury, mortality. This is the statistics here. They did a study finding now that suicide is actually rating higher than most, in fact, the highest of this type of injury here. Injury death is what they call it. And that is something very, very dramatic. And these statistics here are growing. That's what's scary about this. This is out of the Washington Times talking about fathers disappear from households across America. And this is some amazing stats if you haven't read these for yourself, but 15 million American children, or 1 in 3, live without a father, and nearly 5 million lived without a mother. This is extremely huge when you think about the repercussions of this in the next generation, the following generation, who's supposed to be there to get us out of the generation we are currently in, where we obviously see no real good future in many ways economically. And now we have this type of statistics that I'm bringing to you here at the Money GPS. Now, I don't always like to get into the financial side because you have stats like this that are so important that we need to look at the wider picture, the geopolitical picture, the political. We need to look at big pharma. We need to look at all these other things that others don't get into. So I hope you like this information. And if you do, if you found it informative, please give me a thumbs up to signal that you would like this type of information interspersed with the financial stuff and the geopolitical stuff as well. Don't forget to become an insider. It's totally free. It's available at themoneygps.com. You scroll down to the bottom and fill in your email address, and you get occasional emails from me with short, concise info.